What happened for you to be charged and
Well, I was having a lot of conduct issues related to alcohol use and that, like uttering threats to superior officers and stuff like that at the bar. I had 2 rounds of incidents, one with an officer and one with the senior NCO. And the second one resulted in me being thrown in cells for 14 days and demoted. So my famous saying, I went into the Army a private, did 14 years, and left the Army a private.
yeah. So I'd like to come back around into post-traumatic stress versus mefloquine toxicity. So back in '97, this was my first introduction into post-traumatic stress versus mefloquine toxicity. Actually, I had a psychiatrist diagnose me with mefloquine toxicity / post-traumatic stress. And his opinion was that you can't separate the two. And I've thought about that long and hard. And I guess where he was coming from, or my understanding of where he was coming from, was that if you have post-traumatic stress and you've had mefloquine, you probably have post-traumatic stress from the mefloquine. So some of the nightmares I had, I didn't have nightmares when we were in Somalia. All my nightmares started when I got home off the drug, and they were like extreme, man. Like, I recall, as real as our conversation is today, I descended into a vat of body parts, or had to emerge from it. And I mean, these were some of the dreams. It was just, and it was smell, taste, everything. It was just, so horrid. And so he always expressed that, probably the post-traumatic stress was a side effect of the mefloquine toxicity, right? Which is kind of an interesting take. I just, myself, I'm not sure it's post-traumatic stress in any way, shape, or form. I think it's just clear upright poisoning, and our brains are just, the neural pathways are damaged, and they're damaged because of the drug, not because of our experiences. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Actually, what I'm coming across now after talking with a few people, a couple of psychologists, and a vestibular person that specializes in vestibular therapy. What I suspect is the actual PTSD misdiagnosis is actually the damage to the vestibular system, because a lot of the when you have vestibular damage, you have a lot of generalized anxiety. A lot of the sleep disturbance is related to the vestibular damage, because every single person that has been poisoned by mefloquine, they are unable to sleep flat on their back. And that's one of the issues with the vestibular damage. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you're seeing that, because you know what? I would never have put the fact that I never sleep on my back anymore up
Yep.
to, it's just like the click. There it is. Great information. Because
and that's what related back from the when we were evolving as humans. Like if you had a head injury and you laid on your back, you would choke on your vomit, because if you have head injury, you're going to vomit. And usually with a head injury, there's associated damage to the vestibular system, usually. So our bodies are evolved, if we have damage to our head or our vestibular system, to roll on our side. And if you don't roll on your side, you're going to have, your body's going to react. And how does it react? It generates anxiety. Hey, there's a problem,
So for a lot of years now, I use alcohol as well, so that I would get my sleep, and I would not be opposed to having half a bottle to put just to get 4 hours. After 3 or 4 days not sleeping, I just, I don't care. If I took a bunch of pills or something like that, I might get 4 hours, and I'm going to feel drugged afterwards. If I have half a bottle, I at least enjoyed half a bottle, and I get the same effect. Never had any problems with that. I was never drunk during the day or anything like that. It was quite literally a sleep aid. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That was my.
Oh, I know. I did the same thing.
Up until a few months back, where I had my first blackout, and it was kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I don't think I can afford to do this anymore. So, interesting though is that when you're drunk, right? You don't. This is where people tend to vomit in their sleep, right? And aspirate, because your ability to roll over, or you're not really asleep, you're unconscious, you know, comatose. Yeah.
We go back to the vestibular stuff since
Absolutely.
we went down that road. Not just the sleep aspect, but it affects your daily functioning, because Dr. Nevin described it best. He described when you have damage to your vestibular system from mefloquine poisoning, basically it's like standing on the edge of a cliff, someone holding the back of your shirt by the scruff of the neck and just holding you slightly off balance forward. That's what vestibular damage is like. So so when you go to get up and you're moving and your body's detecting that there's damage to the vestibular system, it's trying to find the source, what's causing it, and it's trying to correct it. Okay? So when it can't, it generates anxiety. For example, when you're in a crowded, busy mall and you've got people all around you, and when your body has this vestibular damage, one of the things it does is it's always looking for the horizon. And when you're inside a building, the horizon is the junction of the floor and the wall. And when you got people all around you and your body and you can't see that junction, what then happens is your body goes, hey, there's something wrong. And it generates a great deal of anxiety. That's where we're running into issues with the PTSD misdiagnosis, and why the misdiagnosis is being used so much is because of people's inability to be in malls and in crowded environments. Is because of so many people around them, they're losing that reference.
So interestingly enough, once again, you talk about putting these pieces together. I had like severe hallucinations, flashback, time and place type stuff, where I literally lost track of my reality. My first one was on a field exercise. It was night, and you're right, man. There was no field of vision, no, and I was going through trees, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I was walking through a path in the desert, and when I came to, I arrived at my trench, and it never hit a single tree. But the other ones all occurred in public, and exactly like you said, in crowded places. And I would be, in a beer store 1 minute with a group of people, and the next minute I was in a Somalian village again. It's just like, yeah. And it's interesting how if what in fact you're saying, and I don't doubt that it's true, if in fact this is triggered by the vestibular damage, that vestibular damage may have in fact also triggered some of the hallucinations.
Yes, because usually what's in place when your vestibular stuff is all flared up, usually you've got a lot of inflammation and that neural inflammation happening, and it's not affecting just your vestibular system, it's affecting all the damage, So, but what we got to do, back to that, like I keep on coming back to that vestibular thing, because that is, come here, Bear. Sorry. We're in a public place and the dog thinks he's at home, so he's sitting on the chair in the library. Here, Bear, right there. Good girl. And because this vestibular damage, I can't stress enough, it would appear to be a larger playing a larger role in people's disability than we originally thought. Because, for example, when people are in traffic, okay, and you've got, you're on the freeway and you've got vehicles moving on both sides of you, because your body's got the vestibular damage, you're in a moving vehicle, so your vestibular system is going to be slightly irritated to begin with. And when you've got this irritation to your vestibular system, remember, your body's always going to be trying to keep an eye out for the horizon. If you've got a car in front of you, a car beside you, and a car on the other side of Bear, no, come on, down, enough. Sorry. There's a puppy in there doing service dog training. So, so what happens then is you're losing your reference to the horizon.
Once again, you trigger another memory for me. I remember sitting in heavy traffic, and I had my foot on the brake, and traffic started moving, and the next thing you know, I was speeding, like I was accelerating beyond my ability to control the vehicle. But in fact, the whole reality was I had my foot on the brake, pressing hard as a rock, trying to stop this vehicle from going forward. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm stopped in traffic. Nothing was moving. You know what I mean? Yep. It's like hallucination again.
Yep. And again, it's that when your vestibular stuff is all fucking irritated and stuff, it seems like, because when I irritate, like when I go out of my way to irritate my vestibular system by doing the Romberg test, like it just seems all my Mefloquine stuff just gets flared up.